Zeus and the Olympians triumphed over their parents, the Titans, and those Titans had been sealed away in Tartarus in punishment. Time has come to populate the earth with the mortal races. Prometheus and Epimetheus, the only two of the Titans, supported Zeus during the Titanomachy. In gratitude, he gave them the great honor of creating all the creatures. But Prometheus asked his brother Epimetheus to shape all the creatures of the earth. He has to gift each creature their qualities and characteristics. Prometheus chose on designing mankind. Epimetheus went carefully to each creature, giving each the best possible qualities. The lion gained courage and strength, owls received wisdom, falcons the swiftness of wing. Every creature was shaped and gifted a boon. Creatures of the sea were given scales and shells, reptiles their keen sense of taste and cold blood. Every creature, big and small, meat-eater or herbivore, all were given some advantage over their fellows. While Epimetheus was working on shaping the animals, Prometheus worked to create the most superior of all animals, mankind. To give them life, he breathed into them, imbuing them with the spark of life. But by the time he had finished, his brother had already finished giving out all the qualities to the animals. There was simply nothing left for man. Prometheus was a clever and cunning god, known for his wisdom and foresight. He quickly changed man's shape before the clay could settle. He made man stand upright, like the gods. He wanted his creations to be intelligent and capable of greatness. So, he gave humans a part of his own divine intellect, allowing them to think, reason, and create. This gift set humans apart from other creatures on Earth. Zeus decided to visit Earth. He was pleased with what he found and decreed that this new species must sacrifice a portion of all they consumed to the gods. Especially, the animals that they slew. Zeus saw man as nothing more than a people to worship the gods and their power. Prometheus, who loved his creation above all else, was incensed. How dare Zeus demand such a sacrifice? But Prometheus was clever and did not confront Zeus. Instead, when it came time to eat, Prometheus put together 2 plates. One was bones and offal, with a thin covering of fat and meat. The other was the juicy meat of the animal, with thick portions of fat, but covered with bones and marrow. Graciously, he allowed Zeus to pick which parts of the animals would be sacrificed to the king of the gods. Zeus chose the plate that seemed to be piled high with meat and fat. When Zeus found the plate filled with disgusting parts and bones, he angrily rejected the sacrifice. He then decided to take back the gift of fire from humans. Without fire, humans would struggle to survive. Although humans had intelligence, they were still weak and vulnerable compared to the other beings on Earth. They had no fur to keep them warm, no sharp claws or teeth to defend themselves, and no natural means to cook food or create shelter. Seeing their plight, Prometheus felt compassion for his creations. He decided to help humanity by giving them fire back, a divine element that belonged to the gods. Fire would provide warmth, allow humans to cook food, and enable them to forge tools and build shelters. With fire and curiosity, he could fashion weapons, cook food, and create art and commerce. They could build temples to the gods, tell stories, and travel across the land and sea. However, Zeus, the king of the gods, had forbidden giving fire to humans. He feared that if humans possessed fire, they would become too powerful and might challenge the gods. Prometheus decided to defy the ruler of the gods and steal back the fire for his children. So, he took a fruit and rode upon it, for the most beautiful goddess of them all. He pitched the fruit into the courtyard of Mount Olympus. Every goddess assumed that the fruit was for her. Fighting immediately broke out, quickly going from words to fists as each tried to claim it. While the goddesses scuffled and fought, distracting all the gods on the mountain, Prometheus stole into Hephaestus' workshop and stole a spark of fire from the forge. He hid the fire in a hollow fennel stalk and brought it down to earth, presenting it to humanity. With the gift of fire, humans flourished. They could now cook their food, keep warm, and protect themselves from wild animals. They used fire to create tools, build homes, and develop civilizations. Human society began to advance rapidly. Zeus, king of the gods, and still insecure in his reign, found out about the theft. There were 2 to punish: Prometheus, who stole the fire, and man, who accepted it. Zeus was furious. As a punishment, Zeus devised a cruel and eternal torment for Prometheus. Two of Zeus' agents, Kratos and Bia, had seized Prometheus. They dragged him to Scythia, where Hephaestus bound him in unbreakable chains on the top of the Caucasus mountain. Here, he was visited by several other gods, but they were too cowed by Zeus to aid Prometheus. Prometheus threatened Zeus, saying that he knew how Zeus' reign would end, but would never share that knowledge. In response, every day Zeus sent an eagle to attack Prometheus and eat his liver. Since Prometheus was immortal, his liver would regenerate every night, only to be eaten again the next day. This cycle of pain and regeneration was to continue for eternity, serving as a harsh punishment for his defiance. Also, to punish humans, Zeus devised a plan involving the creation of the first woman, Pandora. He ordered the gods to create her and endowed her with various gifts. Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths, shaped her out of clay and gave her life. Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, gave her grace and beauty. Hermes, the messenger god, gave her cunning and curiosity. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, taught her crafts and skills. Zeus gave her a deceptive nature and a box. The box is full of the evils, disease, poverty, starvation, and many others. She was instructed never to open it but was not informed about its contents. Pandora's name means all-gifted because each god contributed something to her creation. Zeus sent Pandora to Earth, where she was presented to Epimetheus, Prometheus's brother. Prometheus had warned Epimetheus never to accept any gifts from Zeus, but Epimetheus, captivated by Pandora's beauty, ignored the warning and took her as his wife. Over time, the box became an obsession to Pandora. It was as if forces beyond her control were pulling her towards the box, saying her name over and over. One day she could resist the temptation no longer. She stole away from Epimetheus, just one peek inside, and then I can rid my mind of this forever, Pandora thought. As soon as she lifted the lid, all the evils inside flew out and spread across the world. Horrified, Pandora quickly tried to close the box, but it was too late, the damage was already done. After all the evils had escaped, one thing remained at the bottom of the box, hope. Pandora released hope into the world, offering humanity a way to cope with the hardships that now existed. Despite the presence of suffering and evil, hope gave people the strength and resilience to endure and strive for a better future. Prometheus's suffering continued for many years until the hero Heracles, a son of Zeus, came to his rescue. During one of his 12 labors, Heracles passed by the Caucasus mountains and saw Prometheus's torment. Taking pity on him, Heracles killed the eagle and broke Prometheus's chains, setting him free. Zeus, still enraged, wouldn't set him free at first. Later, he considered on one condition that Prometheus could only be free if he would change his shackles into a ring that he would wear forevermore. He agreed. Humans, to celebrate and honor Prometheus, began to wear rings as well. In the Golden Age, humanity lived a simple, peaceful, and innocent life, though in a rather childlike state. In the Silver Age, people became more violent and warlike, but they were still noble and virtuous in their dealings with each other. In the Bronze Age, however, people became not only violent but greedy, cruel, and untrustworthy, obsessed with personal gain and caring little for love of family or common decency. Deucalion and Pyrrha lived in the Third Age of Man, the Bronze Age. In the Bronze Age, Deucalion had been born to the Titan Prometheus and had become king of Phthia in Thessaly. Deucalion was married to Pyrrha, the daughter of Epimetheus and Pandora. The population of the world increased greatly during the Bronze Age, but it was an age of many troubles. All of the evils had been released into the world when Pandora had looked inside the chest given to her by Zeus, and it was also a time of lawlessness and war. Zeus looked down from Mount Olympus and saw that even the worship of the Olympian gods was being corrupted by mankind. After having witnessed many scenes that served to confirm his worst suspicions, Zeus decided to visit Earth to see for himself how humans were behaving. Disguised as a mortal, he traveled through various lands until he reached Arcadia and arrived at Lycaon's palace. King Lycaon was a legendary ruler of Arcadia, a region in ancient Greece. He was known for his immense wealth and power, but also for his wickedness and arrogance. Lycaon had many sons, and together, they ruled Arcadia with cruelty and disrespect for the gods. He was known for being extraordinarily cruel and to regularly challenge the gods themselves. It was this last vice which drew the attention of Zeus, who arrived in mortal disguise to test and challenge King Lycaon. Lycaon was able to see through this disguise and decided to test the true might of a god. King Lycaon killed his youngest son of Nyctimus, cut him up and served him in a dish as meat for the god. Zeus immediately detected the treachery, threw off his disguise to appear in his full godly glory, and proceeded to use his lightning bolts to destroy Lycaon's palace. As for King Lycaon, Zeus turned him into a wolf and brought Nyctimus back to life. There were many who believed that King Lycaon stalked the night still, developing a taste of human flesh due to the horrific act of cannibalism that he performed. Zeus did not stop there. He also unleashed his wrath upon Lycaon's sons, killing them with lightning bolts. Zeus was not satisfied with his punishment of the impious Lycaon. Arriving back at Mount Olympus, he called a council of all the Olympian deities and announced that due to the depravity of humanity that he had witnessed, he saw no alternative but to bring an end to humanity altogether. While none of the other gods dared challenge Zeus' decision, they tentatively expressed regret that there would now be no mortals to offer them sacrifice. Zeus reassured them that a new human race would come into being through miraculous means to repopulate the earth. Zeus' first thought was to simply wipe out humankind by blasting them with his thunderbolts, but then he feared that the earth and the very heavens might catch fire. Instead, he resolved that all the peoples of the earth must perish by drowning. He shut up all the winds and prevented them from blowing, except for the south wind, who drove dark clouds swollen with rain across the sky, releasing a huge downpour. Iris, a messenger of the gods who appears in the form of a rainbow, busily kept the clouds supplied with rain. The unrelenting rain destroyed all the farmers' crops in the field. Not yet satisfied, Zeus called on his brother the sea god Poseidon to come to his aid. He summoned all his rivers and ordered them all to burst their banks and overflow. The waters rose and flooded the fields, villages and towns, swallowing them up. Most humans and animals were swept away and drowned. Birds flew searching for land before finally dropping into the sea from exhaustion. Dolphins swam among the tops of great trees, while seals frolicked among the fields where goats had once grazed. Sea nymphs marveled as they explored the drowned cities. The whole land became one giant sea without a shore. Deucalion was the son of Prometheus, the wise and cunning Titan god who often intervened on behalf of humanity. His wife, Pyrrha, was his cousin, the daughter of Epimetheus and Pandora. Deucalion was the most virtuous and God-fearing of men, and Pyrrha the most pious and upright of women. On Prometheus' advice, the couple took shelter from the flood in a giant chest and were tossed about on the waves for 9 days and nights. Eventually, their chest came to ground on the high peak of Mount Parnassus, which broke the surface of the waves. As soon as they emerged from the chest, the pious couple at once gave reverence to the local nymphs and forest gods, and also to Themis, the Titan goddess of justice and giver of prophecies. Before, that role was taken over by Apollo. When Zeus saw that this God-fearing couple were the last 2 people on earth, he knew his work was done. He allowed the north wind to blow the great rain clouds from the sky, while the sea god blew on his conch shell, calling on all the rivers to return to their banks. Bit by bit the waters receded and the dry land appeared, with seaweed still clinging to the high branches of the trees. When Deucalion and Pyrrha saw that the flood had receded, they looked over the desolate landscape and realized that they were the only 2 human beings left alive. They lamented bitterly at this lonely fate and imagined what it would be like if they did not even have each other. Approaching the oracle of Themis, they made her an offering of pure water from the local stream and, prostrating themselves on the steps of her temple, they implored her to help them and the drowned and lifeless world they were left with. Taking pity on them, the goddess delivered them an oracle couched in mysterious terms. Walk away from the temple with veiled heads and your robes loosened. As you go, throw behind you the bones of your mother. For a time, the couple stood in horrified silence, before Pyrrha burst out that she was very sorry but she could never do such a wicked thing as dishonor her mother's bones. Both of them continued to mull over the words of the goddess in great perplexity. At last, Deucalion said, "I can't believe that the oracle would tell us to do anything wicked. I think that by the bones of our mother, the goddess means these stones that lie here, the bones of our great Mother Earth." Pyrrha was uncertain, but they agreed that there was no harm in at least trying this. Gathering up stones, the two of them did as Themis said, walking away with their heads covered in reverence and casting the stones behind them. When they stopped and turned, they saw an amazing sight. The fallen stones were changing shape before their eyes, at first taking on the appearance of rough-hewn statues and then softening into human form. All the stones that were cast by Deucalion turned into men, while all those that Pyrrha threw turned into women, and thus the current race of humanity, hard-wearing and tough like stone, came into being. The earth meanwhile, sodden with moisture and warmed by the emerging sunlight, spontaneously generated new life, some creatures that had existed before and others new.